Okay, good afternoon. Getting ready here. It is quarter past, official beginning. Hello, everybody. Literally, we can't hear you. The reason is that the studio where we are, me and Jari, we try to do distancing. Now Jari comes to the camera.
Hi, everybody.
Now Jari.
Yeah, I'm a bit shorter, Kai.
So literally, we can't hear you because there are no speakers in this studio. So what we can do is just, but nevertheless, we have another laptop that has, but I wouldn't call this a monologue, but let's call it a broadcast. Hey, welcome everybody. Nice to have you here. We are, well, counting in one way, we are 482 people. So that's actually the number of people who in one way or another registered into this course. So as you might know, we had to actually stop you guys at some stage because this has a 500 limit. So anyway, thank you. This is pretty amazing. I think this is the biggest lecture I have ever given, and I can hardly see you, so it's kind of funny. This is obviously the biggest online lecture I have given any time, so that's why the slide says, please be patient with us. We have been teaching for years, but not to almost 500 people online, so let's see how it goes. What else? Well, let's start the objectives. So you can actually see what did you sign up for, meaning that you can still quit if you want, but let's not do that yet, because this is a 6-lecture series, so judge the content only after you have done all the 6 times. Anyway, there's kind of 2 things we want to emphasize. Jari said that we actually have 7 times, so 7 times then. Thank you, Jari. So one of the things we want to introduce is this kind of fundamental change in thinking about leadership, how organizations work, and how strategic change is being done. So that's kind of the big, broad topic we're going to go through in these 7 lectures that we're going to have. But on the other hand, because of my background, we're going to try to keep this very practical as well. So it's not all philosophical, but trying to really take the challenges, how we draw the red line between high-flying theory and practical stuff. But there's also, if we put this into very simple terms and visually, so it is this kind of classical example we try to present to you. Then on the other hand, we have theory, and then we have practice, and they kind of feed each other in the middle, in a circle. But in the middle, why we put this is that it's our philosophy in this course, and that's why it's called facilitating change, is that this theory and practice in the middle, it is you. So very much about this course is you as a facilitator, you as a leader, and try to kind of show you that at the end of the day, it's very much about how you think, how you interpret, how you interact with other people. So that's kind of the 3 parts. Or to put it another way, the circle, the theory, and the practice is that really discussing in this lecture series how we actually think about things. And when we think about in certain ways, what do we then do? And now you can see in this picture, I changed the word we. So it's more looking at as an organization, as a group. And the you in the middle can be you as a group, not as an individual. Then kind of a third round, what this course is really about is, on the other hand, that if we put you as a facilitator in the middle, the kind of the yin and the yang we're going to be discussing and you're going to be thinking and doing exercises is, on the other hand, the theory in practice is the values, the attitudes, and the meanings you have in organizational change or in your work. And how do these actually reflect into the tools, the processes, the practical ways of working? And then again, back, how do the tools kind of imply certain values, attitudes, and meanings? So it becomes definitely this kind of feeding circle. And again, in the middle is you as a facilitator, you as a leader, whatever you call yourself. It is, what is your role in actually making this circle go around in the context that you work in? So this course is much about you. And that's why it's actually really exciting that there's 482 of you over there. So Under the circumstances, this is a big online course, but ideally I really want to, or we really want to build the spirit that this is actually like a community. That the people online there that you can hardly see the other people. You are really important. How do we bring this into this teaching? We'll see. Good. Which means kind of other part of the course objective is that let's try to leverage this. You are an exceptional crowd. You're big. We saw your background when you registered. So it's a huge variety of people. People who have, I would say, much more experience about organizational change than Jari and me. And on the other hand, there are people who haven't really looked into organizational change at all. So it's a huge variety of people. So what we're going to do is how you leverage each other. We're going to force you to listen and talk to each other. And the circumstances is that everything happens online, of course. So when we give the exercises to those of you who want to do them, we're kind of forcing you to learn, how do you facilitate online? How do you talk, listen, do these facilitation exercises online? So that's kind of that's an added bonus you get free of charge in this course because of the circumstances. And then, of course, we're going to try to provide you with concrete materials, links to tools and thinking and everything that is out there. And we're going to gradually kind of build a kind of public package of what we think is really interesting readings, practical tools, processes, everything that companies and experts elsewhere have provided. And you can take immediately into use in your own work and in your own facilitation and leadership. So what are our, yes, Jari, you were right, there's 7.
I know.
I thought it was 6.
No, it was last year.
Last year it was 6. I'm 1 year behind. So what are we going to talk about? So today, definitely an introduction. Jari's going to talk about kind of paradigms, the kind of the big thinking behind it, open the curtain into that. And I'm going to talk about this uncertainty we live in and how that can be actually tackled and how does that fit into this facilitation and everything we have. Next week, a week from now, it's going to be me talking about organizational transformation in general. And then actually I'm going to continue the week after going very into practical stuff. How do sprints, workshops, canvases, and other tools, how do they fit in to this facilitation and transformations? And then our deep diver, Jari, is going to go into facilitation in more depth. So looking at what does it actually mean and kind of building the bridge between the theories and everything he's going to talk about into that. Then it's going to be, how should I say, choose your medicine. Is it lean, agile, design, lean startup? So let's talk and go over all those fashionable items and how do you blend them into a package that will help you with your facilitation headache. So what do you want to call it? And then the last 2 times, I think we're going to do them together.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think we have an idea what we're going to talk about, but let's see how this course goes. And we're going to talk more about you as an individual. So what kind of skills, if this is your cup of tea, what are the individual skills that we can identify? What kind of routines you need to build as a professional facilitator or a leader or whatever your business card says. And like it says there, personal style, because at the end of the day, we believe that this is really reflecting about you. What is my style of leading? What is my style of facilitation? And then lastly, we're going to wrap this up and reflect on this course and looking forward. How do you take it from here and how do we take it from here? So that's every Wednesday from 4 to 6, finish time. I really enjoyed the fact that people actually were sending us email telling that, excuse me, could you tell which time zone are you talking about when you say 4 o'clock? Hasn't happened that much before in the physical lectures we hold here, but hey, live and learn. Great. A couple of words about the exercises. Most of you do not opt in for the exercises, or you didn't want to volunteer that you want to do the exercises. Having said that, I encourage you to do the exercises. You have colleagues, you already most probably work in some kind of a context, so these exercises are really easy, and they are typically stuff that will help you with your everyday work. However, if you're an Aalto student or a so-called active participant, you must do the exercises. And Oona, who's our course assistant, will match you. So every week you're going to get a new person who to do the exercises with. And we're going to do the matchmaking. And yeah, then I said, pretty much if you're here as a tourist, we encourage you to do the exercises nevertheless. And I'm trying to really sell you now to do the exercises, even if you didn't sign up for them. They are really simple. Most of them are kind of my years as a consultant. Being a paid consultant to do organizational change is kind of what my tips and tricks and a little bit honing them. And so extremely simple things just to make people talk and make you understand the larger context and to facilitate. So have a look at them, even if you don't do them. And if you do them this online, like I said, these online circumstances, yeah, it's a nice little bonus you get, a nice little challenge. Because how do you do that online? Well, you can figure out you're creative people. Surveillance, also known here at the university as participation, which means that if you're an Aalto student or an active member, we need to kind of somehow record that you are actually there listening. So we kind of made this very quick fix. So at the end of the lecture, around 6 o'clock, Finnish time, Eastern European time, just write your first name and last name into the chat, and then we know that you were there at least around 6 o'clock, and that's good enough for us. What else? What are we going to talk today? Introduction, it's going on. You've heard most of it. Next, we're going to talk about variety of motivations, or actually, Jari and me are not going to talk. We're going to make you talk. Scary. Then Jari is going to talk about taking a step back, looking at the big picture and all that. Then we're going to have a 5-minute break. And then I'm going to talk about uncertainty as a starting point. And then I'm going to give the first exercise. And then we're done. And that's the breakdown for today. I guess we have to stick with that. So who are we here today? Here's me. I'm Risto. Nice to meet you all. You are, how many are we? Jari, can you give me the number?
290.
290. So yeah, a few people missing from the 482, but we kind of knew that. So my background is that I have a couple of careers behind me. I used to be a researcher here. Then I jumped to Futurize, a Finnish consultancy. I was the head of design there for a while. And then I established a new business with my colleagues there, especially Hanno and Juha, and which was organization transformations for our clients. And there I have from my family photo album, a couple of pictures of doing jobs in different kind of projects. And there on the right-hand side, you can see a couple of the books I've been and the things I've been doing before. So, but now I'm back as a professor of practice full-time, teaching here at Aalto. But in the context of this course, my background is really that, yeah, I used to be for almost 8 years a hands-on practitioner doing service design, organizational transformation, and even a little bit of management consultancy there. So seen a lot of things, a lot of breadth, a little bit of depth as well. And then we have Jari.
Okay. Now I have to somehow make me visible. All right. Hi, everybody. So I'm Jari Ylitalo, and serving the university as a university lecturer at the moment. So I'm working at Department of Industrial Engineering and Management, and also teaching in Aalto Ventures program, AVP, which is our entrepreneurship and startup educational platform. So what I'm educating is leadership, self-management, and teamwork related stuff on various courses. When thinking how to introduce here, myself, I was a bit appalled to write that I have over 25-year experience already in leadership and organization development in various roles. So I have been working as internal consultant or internal change agent in large business organization, external consultant in many organizations, coach, supervisor, action researcher, and management educator. And as I said, in various small, large business organizations. and also multiple public organizations. And I'm also teaching in some more commercial education programs and having my own small coaching practice as well. So a few clients I try to support the leadership development and practices. Working as academia, I have been here for ages, but somehow my interests have been always to understand the practical side of development work. And so I have done my research on and maybe development work also to how to be impactful or influential in leadership development. So, and that has led me to this facilitation or coaching, or in Finnish ohjauksellinen, ohjaukselliset menetelmät, or guidance-based, counseling-based methods. So I'm interested in those, and hopefully I can here share some of my experience and understanding to you as well. And thanks, Risto, for inviting me to join this course. This is great experience. Okay. And nice to have you on board.
Fantastic. Then we actually have a third person who is not here in the studio. We have Oona here online, who's our course assistant, who will be helping you with any practical matters and all that. Hey, there's Oona. She said something. Yay! Hello, Oona.
Through the chat, and
that's it.
Also
that's
put
us.
my telegram
And
up
now
there.
it's about you, the scary part. So we're going to do a little bit of an experiment because it's all about facilitation and learning people and understanding people. We're going to break you all into breakout rooms.
Yeah. And now actually we have, because there are less people than we anticipated, so we can have these 5-person groups now.
So yeah, you're going to be randomly set into 5-person groups. Don't be scared. It's online. People can't be nasty there. So here's actually what we're going to do. After we transfer you into these groups, now is the moment when you actually need to pay attention, because this is what we're asking you to do while you are in those groups. So when you get your group, one at a time, you might want to actually take a picture of this slide. One at a time in your group, tell who you are and what are your interests in this course. What are you interested in this theme? And you get roughly 60 seconds each. Now you can have a little bit more, a couple of minutes more.
Yeah.
But you have 15 minutes altogether, and then we actually transport you back into this lecture hall here at Espoo. And remember, choose a writer. Some of you in the team will write in the group chat a couple of things that you learned from each other. Why are you here and what are you interested in? And don't worry, we will beam you back into this lecture hall once the 15 minutes is gone. Okay, welcome back, everybody. It seems you are all back. I hope you had fun. Like I said, please put something into the chat, because then it kind of works two ways. We actually understand what did you do together and how did it feel. But actually now I'm going to give the stage to Jari, and he's going to take it over from here before we have our break. Jari.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Risto, and I just adjust this prompt a bit. Okay, hope you had somewhat good discussions and at least had a feeling that there are other persons as well participating. So something like 290 at the moment. And as Risto mentioned, please put something in the chat from your experience. But okay, now I think we have somewhat set the stage, and hope you are on board, and maybe somebody joined just in the middle of breakout rooms. So welcome. And now it's time to start our more content-wise, our lecture or this opening session. And as Risto mentions, my part is to take present some ideas maybe about some more fundamental issues or even paradigms, as it was mentioned in the title of the slide, the lecture. But as it here mentioned, taking a step back, being aware of our lenses. So why should we be aware of our lenses, and lenses to what? So now, being aware of our lenses to organizational or social reality is something I like to invite you now to think during next, let's say, 25 minutes. And taking a step back means for me that when we are working in organizations or wanting to change things or make sense out of what's happening, we tend to have a rush to go forwards and try to find methods, try to talk about the content and so, but I think it's utmost important to somehow to realize or be aware of our basic conceptions or lenses, how we see our organizational reality. And that's why I'm quite often starting with this. Because these lenses we are having, they tend to create kind of fundamental foundation for our understanding. And they can be different. But let's start with what do we mean by lenses? So when we are, as human beings, living our everyday life, so we are getting experiences, we make different kind of perceptions, we hear speech, words, see pictures, illustrations, sense emotions, and encounter people and have interactions. So all that, through all these, we capture data or information. But that data, what we capture, we interpret, and we try to make sense out of that. So that's quite natural for us human beings, that we are trying to making sense all the times what we sense, what we experience. And I use here the word interpretation because we interpret everything. So we don't take anything as shots. And we interpret through our unique lenses, or, well, we have different theories, different understanding of different concepts in our mind. And through those lenses, we interpret and make sense out the data we acquire. Okay, unique lenses. So how they are built? They are built through our life history, through our experiences. And of course, what makes them different? We have different worldviews, view of reality. We have different views of human nature. Some of us may think that people are trustworthy. At start, I rely on people's goodwill. And maybe some other has different experiences and may a bit doubtful that, okay, I'm a bit hesitant with people. And so that, of course, creates a different lenses to how we interpret other people's motives and behavior. Then personal values and ideologies. We tend to have certain beliefs about what's right, what's wrong, what should be avoided, what we want to drive, what drives us, and what is important in life. Our professional background, education, frames our thinking quite heavily. Of course, cultural and social experiences. We all have different roots and different experience. Some of us may be a bit narrower or more kind of not so rich experiences as some others. And all these are pretty permanent or deeply in us, and they have become quite self-evident. So we don't question our lenses quite often. And then, of course, it's also situational and contextual. Sometimes we might laugh at a good joke in certain context, and in next context, the same joke might be a bit awkward, even. So that it depends a bit about context. And then, of course, personal. If you are tired, stressed, or emotionally somehow reserved, our lenses might be a bit narrower. Or if we are feeling positive, we are enthusiastic something, we might be more open and then interpret things more openly. So coming to this, so we all have different lenses to look our social reality and organizational reality. But then are we still prone to presume that others perceive and experience the world and situations similarly with us? So I end up doing this all the time. So I forget that, because it's so easy to think that, okay, this is the right way to interpret the situation, and this is a proper understanding of that. But I think sometimes it would be good to ask, should we be more willing to ask and listen others, how they are perceiving and interpreting? Because this now, somebody could say that, okay, it's a bit now, somebody thinking differently. So maybe it's taking time to find understanding that is similar. But I think it's the richness of the diversity we are having here. So tolerance to ask others' perceptions, interpretation is really creating possibility to see all the variety, all the difference we can have, so it's kind of multiplicity of views and understanding what a certain situation or a certain experience can create. And so I think this is something fundamental between people in life in general, but also in organization. There is not just one truth. And reminding that or remembering that and taking that into account could be a very, very good way. And now, a man or a woman, or both. Yeah. Okay, but when we have lenses, next thing is, okay. Yeah. So, but if you don't have a concept or a theory of phenomenon or issue, the data doesn't make sense to us. So that can happen that I can, okay.
Wait, Jari.
You have done something?
Don't worry.
Okay.
Oh, nice. It's controlling the screen.
Sorry for the break. Okay, are we now?
I think so.
All right. Okay, so just illustrating or highlighting this concept or theory. If you don't have it, then the data doesn't make sense. Here in this picture, which is my dear colleague is using in his lecture, so
My apologies to everybody.
Okay.
Not Jari's fault. Now you can go back, I guess.
Okay. Everything right now?
I think so.
Okay, good. This picture on right-hand side could be just black dots. Or if we have a concept of a dog-like animal, we might see a dog there. And if we have a concept of Dalmatian dog, then we can be even more accurate with that. But if you don't have that concept, that illustration or picture doesn't make any sense, or mutts, or some other sense. So this is just a kind of easy illustration how if you don't have a certain concept, then we can't really capture the data, or the data is somehow different. But then what about organization? What is our concept or theory of an organization or organizational reality? Because I guess we all have some. When we have worked, studied organizations management and we are working in certain organizations we have been involved, we have a certain kind of concept in our mind. I used to ask quite often that just ask people to close eyes and then ask what they see if I say organization. And many of us actually see picture of boxes and lines between those boxes. So kind of hierarchy, which is one illustration, one metaphor, concept of organization. Some others might see people chatting, people interacting, kind of lively situation. That's another view of organization. But I think the one issue here is when we talk about change, understanding how change is happening in an organization. So what would be useful ways to understand organizational reality? And here as it was mentioned, that concept of paradigm could be used, that we have different paradigms of organization. And all those studying at university or doing research know something about scientific paradigms, that what are the kind of underlying assumption about the nature of the phenomenon. Okay, now, what could be the different ways to see organizational reality? So, can we see it as something that can be objectively measured, analyzed, and understood from outside? So, this could be called kind of objectivist or positivistic or functionalistic view of organization. And it's invalid in many, many ways. But does it help us to make changes? So, other view could be more seeing to organizations living systems, living social systems, where we have constructed the reality socially. So through mutual meaning making, talk, and not from outside, but within. And of course, can we see it as both? So these are, of course, now this latter part would be called more interpretivist or constructivist view of organization. And I think you have guessed already, so I'm more maybe representing this latter part. And from practical point of view, this may be more helpful view of organization. So let me now go further with this, but I don't argue against this first view. And there is a vast amount of management research or organizational research is actually following this kind of idea of organization. And there's valid points in that as well. But now, if we take this latter part and take what are kind of, what could be some important aspects of organization reality, I think first thing I would like to highlight here is experientiality. I don't know if this is the right word, but it means that in practice for us, the organizations are many ways experiential places. When we are working with other people, we interact with them, it creates emotions, it creates experience of social bonding, it creates experience of doing something together, collaborating, even when we are alone, generating knowledge, reading, writing, communicating. This is pretty much experiential stuff. It's also bodily experience. Now, of course, when we are working online like this, we are having different kind of experience. We are maybe not sensing the community, the connection so easily, but nevertheless, we are experiencing this situation. And this experientiality is something that when we have experiences, we make sense out of that. So we can talk with others that, okay, I have this kind of experience, or this happened, what does it mean? So this kind of sense making we do through our everyday talk. And of course, many ways things just run smoothly and there is no big surprises or things go as we anticipated. So according our concept or theory of organization or our practical experience. But then if something happens that, okay, now this didn't work, or we end up in a puzzling situation somehow, or our concept or anticipation didn't fit to what happened really. So then we can end up taking a deeper thought and thinking of the situation. And well, that's what we can call reflection. So meaning that we think through more the experience and try to compare it. Okay, this didn't happen before this way. So what we should think about that. And of course, this kind of reflective thinking and thoughts can lead learning at its best. And we can make our concept of organization, our practical world, richer. And of course, then we can experiment again and reflect and learn. And that's, I think, for me, it's kind of basic cycle for organization change as well. So it's not just happening at once, but it's a learning process where we have to explore, experiment, reflect, repeat, make again, and routinize through experience. And so this experientiality is, I think it's utmost important if we want to understand the organization. We can first have an experience, then we can understand it backwards. Of course, we might have a certain hypothesis how we should work and how we should experiment, but this experientiality is important. And I would argue that we should go first with experience and do something. And I know Risto will continue from this in his own part later. Okay, second view, contextuality. So organizations are kind of unique contexts in that sense that when we start working together in organization, we start building our own reality and construct our context. And there, language and meanings, shared language, shared meanings is one labeling thing. Through language, we name things and we start seeing them as such. And in each organization, so we start using certain words which carry meanings. And these same words might be a bit different use in other organizations. I think all those of you who have been working in many organizations have noticed that it's a bit different. So people talk about it a bit differently. And there are different meanings behind the words. But it's not just describing things. So language, through language, we create our context and our mutual reality. So, and language can be tricky. If we think that how language is used now also in political arena, just naming things and repeating and so on, and we start believing that things are like that. But that happens in organization as well. So it's important just to pay attention what kind of language you use, how we use it, and how is it mutual and hopefully inclusive as well. Okay, next, relationality. This refers to our, if we take that the organization as a kind of social system where we are connected. So all parts of the organization somehow connected to other parts. And of course, we as persons in organization, we are connected to other persons. So we have relationships, but these relationships tend to be reciprocal. So they are going both ways. So it's not just a one-way street. And these relationships between other people, I think we have also experiences, or some of us might have that with some people, we might feel much more competent and brave and courageous and innovative than with some other people. So our relationships really make influence to us. And of course, very good question is, how do I influence others? Do I know that? But relationality is other things as well. So it's not just between people. We can also think that we have relationship with technology, with physical space, and all that create kind of our context as well. Third thing, processuality. So organizations are not fixed, or they are not kind of stable places or stable realities. They are in flux all the time. So we can see that people talk, people change things, they act and make meanings and so on. They are kind of living systems in that sense. And of course, in some organization, there is good practices, good culture, good way of improving things, be innovative, be kind of wanting to grow and so on. And they can be considered as a learning organization in that sense. And some other organization might be more even stagnated or declining, that they are kind of stuck, but still they are in certain flux. So when we talk about change, it's not stable situation, change, other stable situation, but it's ongoing processuality which is going on. And in certain change, of course, we boost a bit certain direction and certain movements as well. Then practices. So this may be a thing that has been emphasized now in social research, social science as well, that we see our social world, social reality through practices. And practice means that when we in organizations start doing something, we start repeating certain patterns of behavior, and that we can call practices, like having management meeting, team meetings, certain ways of communicating, certain practices, having coffee breaks, and we start repeating these, and these practices will be routinized in a way. And they, of course, create some kind of predictability in a way. And they, at best, serve very well our kind of efficient way to accomplish tasks. But on the otherwise, when they are routinized, they can also be some dysfunctional or not so efficient. And we are stuck having poor practices. But these practices are also experiential stuff, and we have those collectively, and also we can think personal life. We have a lot of practices in our life which we repeat. So every morning we do similar things, I guess, most of us. We don't have an innovative way of having breakfast this morning, but we repeat the same patterns. And finally, culture, which is now going to be talked during this course quite a bit. Of course, culture has quite a lot different definitions, but for me, I like Edgar Schein's definition of organizational culture, which is highlighting that this basic assumption beliefs how we survive as an organization, and also how we keep us together. So question of external adaptation or survival, and question of internal integration, how we survive. And those basic assumptions have been turned quite self-evident or unconscious even. And we also only realize this cultural assumption when somebody's violating or doing differently. And we easily say that that's not our way. And so this is now some basic aspects of this kind of organizational reality I would like to highlight here. And if we now go further concerning culture and practices or context as such, they can be viewed as kind of recursive as nature or by nature, meaning that when we are acting, behaving, working, following our practices in organization, we are producing those practices, we are making them real. But at the same time, those ideas, values, or practices produce us, make us work like that. So it's kind of cycle. And that's very interesting, because it can be so that these practices and culture tend to become deeply routinized and implicit. And when they are connected to our personal identities, this is right way to work, this is right way to be a professional, they tend to be very strong and implicit again. And in change situation, it can be a challenge. And now, in the end, I'd like to highlight some basic stuff about us humans. So I think many of you are familiar with Deci and Ryan's self-determination theory, which is theory about well-being, motivation, and basic of human beings. And they state and claim that we have three basic psychological needs. Be able to regulate our lives, our actions, at least to a certain extent. Relatedness means that it's important for us that we are meaningful to others, or what we do is meaningful for others. And I would talk about here about inclusion, that we want to be part of the social system. If we are not, we are worried. So if there is some sign of risk that we are excluded or we are not good enough, that worries us. So this relatedness is quite crucial. And then feeling of competence, that we are really feeling that we are competent doing what we are doing. And okay, now when we think about change, I think all these basic needs can be in somehow in risk or in threatened. So losing autonomy, that somebody else is saying what to do, or that I'm not participating, I'm not being able to regulate. Or relatedness, am I excluded? Am I still part of the bunch or not? or competence? Because I have been very good in this old way of working. So do I have a competence really to learn new things, or at least survive through the change? So I would come back to these issues in later lectures. So in the end, a few questions. If we think that, take it seriously, that our ways to see the world frame quite strongly and fundamentally our agency, how we work, how we act, how we perceive, and our understanding, then maybe we should be a bit more critical about our view as well. So not taking self-evident that we have an only right view, because I think we all have always possibility to have a richer picture. And this way of thinking our basic assumption a bit critically, that what else could be here, how else this could be seen, and asking and discussing, I think it's encouraged. Then our practices and cultural beliefs are strongly routinized and part of our identity. So can we let us experience, explore, and exercise new practices in a safe and meaningful way? So it's not just the change is happening at once, it's a process where we have to learn, we have to maybe take steps back and allow ourselves also to learn, not just pushing it one way only. And then I'm interested in this, that we are more relational and independent beings than we believe. We have got ideas, I'm just individual, but I think we are quite connected. And so if so how can we take issues of inclusion, participation, and need of competence seriously in general, but especially in change? All right, this was my starting part. So this now hopefully gave you maybe some stuff you were familiar with this, and hopefully it was kind of confirming. And for some of you, maybe there were some new thoughts, but hopefully it reminded you at least that these fundamental issues are quite crucial if we want to become better agents of change. Okay, thank you on my behalf, and I guess we will have now a 5-minute break.
Next slide.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
All right.